to go. We are. Welcome, everybody. I'm Barney McCoy here, and we're going live tonight from the College of Journalism and Mass Communications here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. A beautiful late winter day as well as we enter into March, and of course, we're all here tonight to celebrate the contestants and see their work, and also thank our benefactor, Phil Perry, who is on the live stream tonight. Phil, you're out there. Happy birthday, by the way. That's the reason you're out there. I hope you're having a great party. Let's please give him, this is the Perry Photo Challenge. So that's the reason we are here tonight. And it's been quite a challenge. We have 5 finalists tonight whose work we will enjoy seeing. They will be up here momentarily to talk and to display their work and also to help describe it to you. The theme this year is Exploring Community, which opens all kinds of possibilities. And of course, each of the students was allowed to conceptualize their own photographic work and do a series of photographs that help to explore that theme. And they will be up here again shortly. Again, we'd also like to thank Phil Perry for supporting this college and this important competition, and also some pretty fantastic scholarship assistance that comes for all of our finalists, and certainly the number one tier as well too. So we'll have more on that later on tonight. Just a little background on this competition. It began, well, last weekend. All the contestants arrived in the college on the weekend of February the 22nd and the 23rd. They got here last Saturday morning at Anderson Hall, and they had from 10 a.m. last Saturday until 10 a.m. last Sunday to complete their photojournalism story. Again, the theme was Exploring Community. And in just a little bit here, each of those 5 finalists will be up here. They each have 5 minutes to present their essays and also answer questions from our esteemed panel of judges, who we will introduce shortly from across the United States and Nebraska as well, too. So let me do that right now. I'd like to introduce them, and if you'd like to stand up, turn around, introduce yourselves, say hi to the audience. Kenneth Ferrara, a staff photographer with the Lincoln Journal-Star, and also an alumni. Kenneth, thank you, for our college. Kim Floden, the Deputy Director of U.S. News Gathering for the Associated Press in Chicago, Illinois, and a California native as well, too. Jenny Gregg, professional portrait photographer from here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Anna Reed, a photography and video specialist with the Omaha Public Schools, also another COJMC alum. Thanks for coming back. And Patrick Sassone, the photo editor for the Associated Press in New York City. So judges, thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm glad you all made it, because I understand the weather or other delays, but you all got here. Patrick, thank you, especially for your endurance here too. At this point, I'd like to introduce a good colleague of mine and all-important person when it comes to photojournalism in this college. Sean Hill is here to talk a little bit more about this competition. Come on up, Sean. Thank you.
Well, see, I was going to use my phone to put notes on like my students, but I decided against that. So I'm supposed to be talking about the difference between photojournalism and studio. Photojournalism can be defined as the process of using photographs to tell a story, whereas conventional journalists would share their information by pen and paper and keyboard. Photojournalists use their cameras. Studio photography, on the other hand, the photographer is in complete control. In the studio, they can have their subject do whatever they want. In photojournalism, you're not supposed to do that, and I'm hoping our students did not do that. So, all in all, using journalism and photographs is to expose the average person to new and different stories in an arresting and digestible way. I do want to thank all of the participants in Perry, because you all did, not just the top 5, but all of the participants really did take in the tenets of photojournalism by telling stories through people's eyes. And I want to thank you guys for that. Thank you.
That was fast. Thank you, Sean. I'd also like to thank we have just had so many people that are contributing and vital to running this competition every year and keeping things rolling smoothly down the track. So our scholarship committee, Sean, we just had Sean up here as well. Jason Stam is here. Put your hand up in the air, Jason. Teaching colleague in our college, Alan Eno is here as well. Caitlin Van Loon is here in the back there. Zach Franzen. Sharon Baldinelli. Rachel Nazika. And Tiffany Groschlusen. So, Tiffany, thank you again for making all these things happen. Alan Eno is also helping to coordinate the advanced video students in his advanced videography class. And he's here, and thanks to them, they're on the stream. You can lift your hands in the air, you can wave, you can do whatever you want to, but thank you again for being here and making this possible for all the folks that are watching this stream everywhere in the world on the web. So, great job. And thank you again, Alan, and your students, too. Let's get down to one more. Nandini Ranakindi is here designing the Exploring Community logo, which was part of our graphics and artwork as well for the competition. And she is I'm trying to remember, what is her major? She advertising PR? And I also had her in my news audio classes last fall semester, so multi-talented as well, as many of our students are, including the 5 finalists who are about to hit the stage here. So we're going to get to the meat of the matter, and the judges are standing by. They may have some questions to ask, but our 5 finalists are Maddie Wells. If you'd like to just stand up, turn around, wave, say hi. There we go, Maddie, thank you. Marissa Lindeman is here. Ruth Bailey. Jaslyn Sanders. And Leah Bryan. So, Leah, thank you. And congratulations, 5 finalists. So, we'll be hearing more from each of you momentarily. And let's go ahead and introduce our first finalists again. Each will have 5 minutes to talk about their photo portfolio, the storytelling concepts that they use for our theme this year. And our first finalist is Maddie Wells, a junior advertising and public relations and broadcast news major from right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And the floor is yours. Come on up.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Maddie Wells, and I was inspired to do this competition because I'm not really an experienced photographer, and I decided I want to do something that's, outside my comfort zone, and also just learn about more about the community that I was born in and go to college in. And so my story is about the homeless community here in Lincoln, and more about the community that they have with their friendships and bonds through as they try to fight in the survival of life together, but also those tend to fade towards the end of the night when they're hard friendships to keep up with when they have all of these circumstantial things. Okay. If it goes, hold on. Okay, so here's my first picture. This gentleman, his name is Peyton, and then Rebecca. And Rebecca is recently homeless, and Peyton has been homeless for a few years now. He is teaching Rebecca how to panhandle for money because it is her first time doing that. He actually got a warm meal he received from a kind civilian, and he offered to share it with Rebecca, showing that friendship that they have and they're willing to do what it takes to help each other survive throughout the day. I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. So the bus is really important for Peyton and Rebecca, and I actually met them at a bus stop. My original story was going to be focused on buses, and I had to kind of pivot. I went onto the bus, and the driver was like, absolutely no pictures on the bus, and so I was like, I just met these really awesome people at the bus stop, and they seem like they have some pretty impactful stories to share. And so I asked if I could follow them around for the day, and they kindly said yes, and I got to learn more about their experience, day-to-day life, and more about their stories overall. But this is how they get from point A to point B. When the buses aren't going, they can't really go anywhere. They're pretty isolated, and they rely on that mode of transportation. Here is Peyton, and he is panhandling for money, and in the background you see a city mission truck drive by. We see these trucks around Lincoln, we see drop boxes, we see resources, and there are a lot of resources in Lincoln, but at the same time, this picture just goes to show there's just not enough to keep people from off the streets, and he actually chooses not to go to the city mission. He believes it's not clean, it just doesn't fit his needs, so I thought that was a really interesting picture to include. Rebecca is making her first sign. This is her first time panhandling, and she took a lot of thought into what she's going to put into the sign. She had no idea what exactly to put, and Peyton gave her advice. Just be honest, speak from the heart, and people are more likely to give, and they'll see that story, and they'll have a lot of empathy for that. And so she ended up settling, sharing about her story of domestic violence, and she wanted to share that as people drove by. Here's Rebecca holding her Bible. She carries this Bible with her where she goes. It is big. Her faith helps get her through day-to-day things, and she really just holds on to that Bible as a sign of hope. Her religion really serves as that hope and guiding her through the day-to-day. Here's Rebecca panhandling for money. Her goal for the day was $50 and a warm meal. With the help of Peyton, she received that warm meal, but unfortunately she did not get her $50. As this is her first time handling, I think this picture's impactful because you can see her kind of staring off, and you can just imagine what's going on through her mind, especially since this is her first experience, and how humbling that must have been for her, and how honest that was of her to share that on her sign as well and share her story on that sign. And then I ended up following Rebecca throughout the day and learning more of her story, and I was fortunate enough that she felt comfortable with me. And so we ended the night at a bus stop, which is kind of ironic because that's where we started the day. By this time, the buses aren't going anymore. There's nowhere to go. She can't go to the mission. She can't go anywhere else. So she sits at that empty bus stop and prepares for the night ahead. She told me how scared she was, and I think it just shows that they have these bonds they build throughout the day. But by the end of the day, everyone kind of has to fight for themselves, and the lack of community that this community together overall faces, even though they have those bursts of, meeting people along the way. Thank you, judges, for being here. I've learned a lot about myself throughout this. Again, this is my first time doing any photography work, so I really appreciate the time and feedback.
Well done. Yeah, sorry. Hi, hello. Yeah, well done. If this was your first time ever doing anything like this, very impressed. I hope I speak for the rest of the judges. That's great. What did you learn, more from, I know you've already gone through your whole presentation. What did you learn from just spending time with this individual? Not just what you've presented to us, but what did you learn about people's struggles, what they go through on a day-to-day basis that maybe you haven't included in your story?
Yeah. We're going to run that. Do you want me to talk now?
Yeah, whatever works.
Yep. I'll ferry for you.
I think I learned just a lot about their stories personally, and I think everyone has a different story, and we often see homeless individuals, and we don't really know everything that led up to that point. And I learned that they had kids, and that's not something you usually think. You don't really think about. If you see someone alone on the side of the street, you don't think about, the family that misses them, the family that struggles in their relationships with them. And Rebecca told me she has 6 kids, and she's not really sure where most of them are. And I just thought that was really powerful, that you don't even think about things like that. And more from a city perspective is I just think we could do better. What I learned is, the buses don't go on Sundays, and I never really thought about that. I'm how do people go to work, go to church, go to the places they need to be. And so I think even just things like that about my own city was eye-opening as well.
So you said you started, your concept was like riding the bus all day. And then you said it ended at a bus stop. I would have loved to seen a photo, kind of a big wide shot of her sitting in the bus stop, you know. And this detail is great, but I don't think there were actually 10 images in this story, right? So I think you had room to add at least one more. I think that would have been really nice, especially end of the night. You just see the street lights. So just think about things like that for telling kind of a nice story arc to see the end of the day. Was there a reason that did you try that photo and it just didn't work for some reason, or was there a reason you didn't include something like that?
I think there was a couple reasons I didn't try something like that. First of all, I mean, it was dark out, but I don't know. It was actually on campus, too, is why she was kind of hiding in the bus stop, because you're not supposed to smoke on campus. And the bus stops that are on campus, they're really dark. They're tinted really dark, and especially when it's dark out, you can't even see it with a flash. But I think the other reason why I didn't include that would be because it was a really emotional moment with her that I felt that I needed to listen as a journalist with my ears, instead of, you know, I guess I didn't really realize it would translate into that, but then after that moment was over, you know, like getting out of the bus stop and then being like, I can't tell her to, like, you know, stay in there while I, you know, shoot a picture. And so I guess, you know, I just, this whole day, I think it was kind of just play by ear. I know a lot of people had theirs totally planned out, but I didn't even know where my next move would be. And I think that's the main reason why I don't have that picture.
And to that point, what made you decide to stick with her at some point and separate from the person she was with? Or did he just, you know, how did you make that separation?
So they ended up going to a dinner eventually, and then I didn't think I was allowed to take pictures inside that dinner hall, and he ended up separating with her when I was not with them during that dinner process. So I'm not really sure where he went, but then when I met up with her, he wasn't there anymore. And sorry, what was the other half of the question? Okay, yeah. And I kind of decided, like, I was like, what made me keep taking pictures is I originally just was with them with the signs, and I was like, there's something that it just doesn't feel finished. And so I'm glad I, like, stuck with my gut on that and went back for more. And granted, I only got one picture from going back for more, but that picture, I think, really concluded my story.
I know we're almost out of time, but I want to ask a question. Did this opportunity, since this was your first time really exploring photojournalism, make you want to do more? Did it bite you with the bug?
I think it gave me a lot of a lot more confidence. I was really unsure of myself before I came in here. I'm like, I was really intimidated, and I think it gave me that reassurance that, like, I can do this, and I could do this. And I think I just always been intimidated and scared to try something new like this. And so I think I'm definitely really interested in it now, way more than I was before I started this challenge.
All right, thank you, Maddie. And our next contestant, actually, I want to introduce just a couple of other quick. Christian Anderson, you probably saw him scampering back and forth, technical support tonight, and Jamie Wentz as well, who helped keep the wheels rolling. So thank you very much. Our next finalist is Marissa Lindeman, a junior in broadcasting from Nevada, Iowa. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. We'll see if this clicker works. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. My name is Marissa. I'm a junior broadcasting major. My story is called Sister Get Together. It's community for a refugee family from Sudan. When I thought about our theme, exploring community, the first idea that popped into my mind was this idea that 10% of Lincoln is foreign born. Lincoln's been a refugee resettlement city since about 1975 after the end of the American War in Vietnam. And because of that, we have a large population of refugees and immigrants in our community. I wanted to showcase that experience through the eyes of what it was like to be a refugee in Lincoln and what community looks like for them. So I started reaching out to a lot of advocacy organizations early on, and through the New American Task Force and Educare, I was able to be connected with Aisha and her family. This is Aisha Ibrahim and her son Bugala. She's settling him down for nap time, which was a very, very long process. Her husband, Isaac, and her met in the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, but they are both originally from Western Sudan. They fled because of the ongoing conflict. There's been a civil war there for many decades now, on and off. And they have 2 children together now, Bugala and Baraga. Really the time that the kids are down is the only time Aisha has to get the house ready. Those are her 2 hours of peace. So she used that time to clean up and get ready. She has guests coming later in the day. So this was the best time for her to be focused. Aisha is also studying. She and her husband are both trying to get their associates right now. She's studying human services. So in this photo, she was really focused and concentrated on using those 2 hours when her son and daughter were asleep to try to get all her assignments done and all her homework done. Education is really an important pillar for Aisha to her life. She told me about how her family and in her culture, it's not very common for women to go to school. It's viewed as optional, and particularly higher education. So the reason that she decided to get her associates is in part to set an example for her daughter that this is a possibility for her. So this is a really special day that I got to spend with Aisha and her family because they have guests coming this day. Aisha is part of a group of 14 Sudanese women, and every 2 weeks they get together at a different woman's house. It was her turn to host. They get to share in their culture and traditional food, so she was going to run to the store real quick and grab all the ingredients to prepare the food for later that night. And this is Aisha with her daughter, Baraga. Now that nap time's over, she's making fatira, which is a traditional Sudanese dish. It's usually used at parties with tea and coffee, and so they serve it together. And it's a pretty important part of her culture. And then that's the fatira being fried. It kind of starts out with that rolling process, and I thought it was really interesting how it went from pretty flat to then how much it rose during the frying process. Around this time, her sister-in-law, this is Halima, came over with her 8-month-old baby Adam and started helping her do the final touches for the dinner. So they're getting some dishes ready while Halima is helping over there with the dishes. One of my biggest challenges with this story was the lighting. This apartment was very dark. There was one window, and so I could use it early on, but around this time the sun had already set, so I was really just stuck with the overhead lights, which were pretty yellow and pretty warm, but also added a lot of contrast. So I tried to really embrace that and keep the scenes pretty true to how dark they were, but it was a challenge I navigated throughout the project. And that this is when the celebration really started. This was exciting because all the guests had come and they were starting to share food together. As the guests come in, they each kind of bring their own dish or they bring water to share. And this is, she's helping her friend Hawa help her daughter Rania eat dinner, and I had to wait really in the corner for this exact moment when she turned her head because there was no other good lighting I could get from any other angle. There was only one light in the room, so I kind of just parked out there while they were talking until I could get this one moment. And then, of course, we've got the selfie moment. They only get to see each other about every 2 weeks and really have this chance to celebrate their culture and their community. So she really wanted to memorialize the moment and celebrate with the other women there how special it was for them to be together. And then, of course, after all the guests left, it was time to get her kid settled down for bed. He had spent most of the day trying to draw on his face with a Sharpie. So this was the cleanup process. And I really liked this moment of just how silly and goofy he was in the mirror. The dress that she's wearing is called a tube. It's traditional in Sudanese culture when they have gatherings. So I liked how she kind of kept that on because she was so busy trying to get the kids ready for bed. All right. Thank you.
A special event, or is it just a a community where they want to get together. This group of people all know each other, and they had decided that let's get together every 2 weeks. Or is there something
It's
more?
pretty informal. It started in 2021 with Aisha first arrived to the United States. She met some other women at, it's not exactly a baby shower, but in Sudanese culture, 40 days after a woman has a baby, their friends and family will come and like gather around and kind of celebrate that the baby was born. And so they all kind of met there and then kept the tradition going. And they were like, let's meet up every 2 weeks. We have such busy schedules. We're all moms and we're studying or we're working, and we want to make time for us to celebrate our culture with one another.
Had you met her before that Saturday at all?
No, I started out with the advocacy organizations because I wanted to connect with a family, and I told them I'm looking for a family that's willing to let me tell their story through the eyes of what it's like to be a refugee in Lincoln. And then I gave her a couple calls before because I didn't want her to be like completely caught off guard when I arrived. So we talked on the phone quite a bit and emailed back and forth the week leading up to it, and she asked me some questions, but she was really excited to share in her culture with me.
And so she was excited. Were any of the other women hesitant about you?
No, I
being
reached
there
out
or
to them
anything?
really early on, and I said, hey, would you be comfortable with this? This is what I'm doing. It's a competition. And I shared links to my work, and they were like really excited about it. They want me to send them the photo story after I'm done.
Definitely do it.
Yeah.
Maybe print off some ones too.
Yes.
Bring
I
it to
plan
them.
on printing them all off and sending them in
Yeah.
the mail, so.
First, I think you have a good variety of images here. I think you have a wide, you have a tight, a medium, you have some layering going on. You've done a really good job. I wonder if you did. Is there a reason you didn't go with her to the store? I mean, I think
I
you,
did.
Yeah, did you? You did.
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I still think it's strong. But is there a reason you didn't include that image?
I have some really good ones of like through the shopping cart as she's lifting some vegetables that almost made it to the final cut, but I just felt like the other images needed to be in there to balance out the story, and I thought, I need this one of her preparing, so it really just came down to a limited amount of time to call images. But if I had been able to have like a 12 or 15 story, then I would have included the ones I got of her at the store too.
You mentioned the education, and I guess the third photo kind of speaks to that. But I was wondering, was there an opportunity to show her with her daughter, like maybe reading, like with her or something like that?
They did do a bedtime story, but it's kind of an oral tradition. And so I almost went with that for my ender, but the lighting in there was like really, really dim. And so I thought the one where she was wiping off her son's face was a little bit more telling to like, okay, this is the end of the day. We're almost ready for bed. But the bedtime story is really cute.
Yeah, nice work. Nice work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, no, never mind.
You said that you struggle with the light, and just to be clear, it really worked in your favor. These images really pop because of the way the light falls out. Everything that we said earlier. My question to you is that if you had a choice, would you have gone ahead and tried to embellish it with a little bit of strobe or something like that?
Yeah, I have like a soft Lume Cube light. I think I would have brought that out for some photos. There were some, like the one where she's making the fatira and cutting it, where I like would have really liked to see the details on her face. I just couldn't because of the harsh overhead lights. I think some of the other ones, it was good that they were that dark, but especially with the group photo, because I had to have my f-stop up so high to like get the details in. I would have liked a light because that room was like all the lights were off except for one. So I think I would have for like maybe two of them. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marissa. Our next finalist presenter is Ruth Bailey, a junior journalism and political science major from Dallas, Texas. Come on up.
Hi, y'all. Okay. Hi, my name is Ruth Bailey. I'm a junior journalism and political science double major. And kind of like Maddie, this is my first big photojournalism project. I've occasionally done some photojournalism before, but not a lot. So I was really, really excited to push myself out of my comfort zone and try something new. But more than that, I was really excited for this specific photo competition because of the theme, exploring community. I'm not from Lincoln, so these past couple of years, I've really gotten to explore the city, but even more so the people. And I can just see how much it means, you know, to me, but also that these people are really there for each other. So I really wanted to try and explore that with my photo and show two main communities, the homeless community and people experiencing homelessness or nearly homelessness, and really show the how they often go dismissed or ignored and underserved, but then also the people that help those in need and how people come from all different walks of life to help those who are struggling. So the title story is called Just Feed One, Community and Congregation. Okay, so my first photo, I really wanted to drop y'all into the scene. And so these three people here are Cheryl, Leah, and Fran, and they are making dinner together. And so they're putting this casserole into a bigger dish so they can serve others. But I really wanted to highlight the joy on Leah's face and kind of show how this is something they're really excited to do to help others, but to do together. So this second photo kind of shows the action of them actually serving. So here we have Vicky, Tiny, Ann, Mary, and Janice, and they're serving Denise and Ricky. And so Denise and Ricky have been coming here for many years, and they oftentimes sit and eat together. And then these women are all from St. John's, which is the Catholic church here, and they prepare and serve a meal once every other month. So this here is Marcus. He's 7 years old. And this photo I thought really highlighted him, the emotion in his face. He's eating dinner with his 3 older sisters and his mom. And I really wanted to try and use the light in unique ways in this essay. And so I thought that this kind of helped draw attention to his eyes. And it kind of shows the juxtaposition of the emotions, where this is a very vulnerable time for the people that are eating and that are coming here to admit that they can't afford to find a meal versus the people that are serving. So next, this is Janice, Jan. She's rolling silverware. And so I really wanted to kind of, focus on her doing that, but also the people working together in the background. But also in this photo, the quote was important to me. That's where my story title came from. It's, if you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one. And I think that's really important. That really captures the mission of what they're doing. So next, again, this is them serving. It's cafeteria style, so they have this kitchen all behind them, and then people come in the doors for an hour for lunch, an hour for dinner. They line up, they get their meal. They're free to come back and have seconds, thirds, take some to go, and then once they're done with their meal, there's a separate room with where they drop their tray off for the dishwashers. But I just kind of thought this showed, again, them working together to serve that food. So this is Malik Grant. He's 28. I probably talked with him the longest. I thought it was a really interesting opportunity to get to know some of the people that are there. So Malik has been homeless for 3 years. He comes here every day for his 2 meals, lunch and dinner. He currently lives at People's City Mission, which he was telling me all about how with the cold weather it's been packed, and it's, a really difficult place to live, but he's currently working with Centerpoint to find new housing. He kind of often stared off like this. In my head, it looks posed, but I swear it is not. This is after I've talked with him many times, and so he's just sitting there alone at his table at dinner. So this is I wanted a closer shot about them serving food. So this is their casserole and cherry cobbler. This is Gary. He's 73, and I wanted this photo to show him, again, kind of eating, but also the wide variety of ages that come to enjoy their meal. This is Emily. This is Marcus's sister, also eating, also tried to use the light there to kind of show the emotion in her eyes. And then my last photo is a police officer. So they have an officer come for every meal, opens the door, announces when people can come in, when they need to leave, and he sits there and watches. So this is at the very end of the day where they're wrapping things up. So yeah, thank you so much.
hop into the middle of it. You talked about showing the diversity in that photo with Gary, and what I'm curious about is why not then keep everybody else in the frame, like their faces that are shaved off at the top. So yeah, that's my curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, what's the process and how you came to decide that that was the picture?
No, you bring up a very good point, and I do think that that is something that I struggled with a little, is doing some of the wider range photos, because there were plenty of people there that didn't want to be in the photos, and so I wanted to be very cognizant of that and where people were sitting. But I do think that I either should have cropped in to focus on Gary and made it like his focus, or widened out so you can show the guy that's in line plus Gary and then the people behind him. So I was hoping it kind of shined through a little that, you know, he's older compared to Marcus that you see in Emily and then Malik, but that there are just different ages throughout.
Can I ask, what was your thought process in your ordering of the images?
Yeah, so I wanted to really kind of bring you in at first, showing what they're doing, which is making the food and then serving the food, and then showing how people are eating it, but while they're eating throughout, that people are still serving, people are still prepping. And so it's not just making this meal, eating, and then leaving, but there are things going on the entire time. And then with my last one, it was kind of end of day, everyone had left, the officer's just surveying the room before he leaves.
Hi, Ruth. I just wanted to say, getting up and presenting, I know it's very, very difficult. But what I feel like you kind of started off really strongly, and then as we kind of continued forward, like we have two people kind of lit up by the light. I feel like one of them is definitely a little bit stronger than the other one. And the photo of the officer, like I understand what you were going for, but I wonder if perhaps this would be a little bit stronger without seeing that. And on top of that, we don't really have a name for the officer. He just sort of is
Right.
there, and he's very far away.
Yeah. Yeah. In my thinking with that, I liked how it was framed from the kitchen, but I think that was just me playing around with, I have multiple different shots of him where I do have some zoomed in on his face. Those happen to be a little more out of focus when I uploaded and looked in, so I just thought this was my strongest out of those. But I do agree, like kind of throughout, you know, some of the lighting is different, but that was a little purposeful in the way that just like I wanted to kind of try and bring out some of the emotion in their faces. And yeah, and then I thought, like from this perspective, looking at the officer's photo, it is very far away. I like to think that when you look at it, you can kind of zoom in on him because it's where it's focused and like see that emotion. But yes, I do. Should have maybe varied a little, so thanks.
So you are a broadcasting major?
Journalism.
Journalism. Okay, but this is like your first time to really dabble in the photojournalism?
Yes, yeah.
What made you want to do this?
So, like this exact topic or photojournalism in general?
Just to the competition.
Yeah. So it started out, I made a New Year's resolution to myself to try and do new things and get out of my comfort zone. But I really, really enjoy journalism. I enjoy telling people's stories and, you know, talking to them behind the scenes and then using my words to be able to communicate their stories. But I think that sometimes, you know, photos are worth 1,000 words, and that you can really capture some of that emotion better through photos. And so I wanted to try and challenge myself and do that and really show community through these people in those photos while trying something new.
You said since you're new to photojournalism, the first photo it's structurally very complex and it's almost perfect. As much as perfect can be. What made you decide? How did you arrive at that angle? What was your thinking? And
So what it primarily was is I was like playing around with a lot of different angles. I tried to, at least. And so the counter they're working on, it's like this counter, and then they have stuff up here that's hanging down. And so when I'm standing and I was taking a photo, like it cuts off their face. So you couldn't see anything like that. And so oh, and then if I was doing that, you know, then I would get someone's back, or if I was doing it from the other way, I'd have two of their backs. So there's just, I literally just like got down on the ground and then tried to angle up so you could see her face and still see the emotion on Leah's face, but then like the action of everyone else. And then I wanted to focus in on them and not some of the stuff in the foreground. But I did think like the bread was kind of interesting because they're making food. And so food was relevant to that in my head. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. All right, contestant number 4, finalist number 4, Jaslyn Sanders, Junior Advertising, Public Relation and Sports Media Communications from Council Bluffs, Iowa. Is there any major I missed here that you haven't covered already? No, come on up.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jaslyn. I'm a Sports Media and Ad PR Junior. So my title was An Inside Look at the Heart of Gateway Vista, the Final Community. When I was given the title or the challenge to do a community, I really wanted to challenge myself. Like, I'm a part of a lot of communities, and I could have represented those, but I really wanted to find a community that a lot of people honestly often forget. And then I was like, the elderly community. So that's what I did. So this is Earl. When I was outside exploring their community, I realized he was kind of just sitting here looking at the sign. I was like, that's really interesting. And so I kind of just grabbed a picture of him, and then afterwards we engaged in some conversation, and he let me know that he's new to Gateway and that he was really just reminiscing on his life and how he ended up here. He was really honest, and he didn't think he would be in a living facility, but he was like, this is kind of where my life's at right now. And so yeah, so I think he was really just longing and reflecting on his life through these photos. This is Tess, my new bestie girl. She's 92 years old, and she's just a big sweetheart. She's been at Gateway Vista for about 6 years or so, and she was really just planning out her day. I think meeting Tess was such like a godsend moment for me. She was so sweet, and we just got to talk all day long about her life and how she got to Gateway, and she was really just super thankful that I spent time with her, and I was thankful that she let me spend time with her and get to know her and her community at Gateway. This is her late husband. They were married for 52 years, and she mentioned how it's kind of hard to eat breakfast with all the other residents at Gateway because she's so used to doing it with her husband. So she said her daughter got her this cup, and so she has a cup of coffee with her husband every morning, which is just so sweet. And so yeah, this is Tess. I really like this photo personally. I think the flag in the background, which was her husband's, really speaks a lot to her husband and who they were as a military family. This is Leo and Edward. They're best buds. They're both 97 years old, which is so crazy to me. I really enjoyed getting to talk to these two as well. They're eating lunch in this photo, and at Gateway, they all kind of eat lunch together, and I just think it's such a sweet moment how this community brought them together when otherwise they probably never would have met each other. And it's really important, I think, that we remember the elderly community in Lincoln, because this is their final community. We're part of lots of different communities in our life, whether that's school, family, friends, but yeah, this is a community that is their life now, and it's, like I said, their last community that they probably will ever be a part of, and there's something important about that. This is the kitchen staff. For this photo, I really thought it was important to get the working hands at Gateway because they are almost just a part of that community as the residents are. This photo, I really wanted to step back and get a full scene photo. I tried to get some of their faces, but they just really weren't comfortable with their faces. So I really just respected that. And so I just kind of got them working. And they both worked at Gateway for a while, probably around 6 years, about the time that Tess has lived there. And they talked about how coming in, it's like I said, it's a community and it's kind of home for them. They love talking to the residents and getting to know about their day. This is, Jean and Emma. Emma has worked at Gateway since 2022. This is Jean. He is a veteran. They have grown such a sweet friendship. Right away, I knew that something was different about those two. It wasn't just like a client and a worker. It was, like I said, friends. And so in this photo, they were kind of laughing. She was giving him his afternoon medicine, and Jean just cracked me up. He was just telling a bunch of jokes, And yeah, you could tell that he was comfortable with his community and she was comfortable, and this is their day-to-day life. It's home. And I just think there's something super important about that. Like, his kids aren't there, his wife is there with him, but yeah, Emma just serves as like a sweet friend that he has at Gateway. Sorry. This is, again, my bestie Tess. She's doing her puzzle in this picture. I really like the light that was coming from the window. I think it shows her hair beautifully and kind of just lights her face up a lot. This puzzle that she's doing, actually, it's a community puzzle, and so she mentioned how all the different residents will come and work on the puzzle together. That's not her favorite thing because she knows what she does and like where she places it. But yeah, it just brings about the community and how they work together in small things like building a puzzle. This is Tess, and this is her late husband's pillow made out of his shirt. This was on her bed when I was in her room that she so graciously let me be in. And she kind of grabbed it and was hugging it and telling me about how much she missed him. And it just brings her comfort in this new community that she's in at Gateway, because he's obviously sadly not there with her. This is Larry. He's a big Husker fan. Go Big Red. We just got to, again, talk about life, and he's a Nebraska resident. He always has been. And him and his wife moved to Gateway about a year ago, and they were just letting me so graciously in their home and talked about their life at Gateway and how they're adjusting, and they just love it. And I really like their dentures and the banana in the front. I think it really just brings life to their life and how comfortable they were with me there, thankfully. And lastly, I have their hands. This is Larry's hand and his wife's hand. This was just such a tender moment. They were just holding hands, talking about their life with their kids and how the love still shines after all these years. Thank you.
I love that we get so many vignettes, but part of me wonders why you maybe didn't focus more on, and I'm sorry, I forgot, Tess. I want to say your bestie. My bestie. Maybe just talk a little bit more about your decision making on how to your story.
I was with Tess for most of the day. That's why we see most of Tess. But I really realized that Gateway is a community. It's not just Tess's home. It's all of their home. And so I thought it was really important to show Gateway as a community, show the working hands, show those are Larry is Tess's neighbor. So they're right across the hall. And so in some way that is Tess's community. So I wanted to show Gateway as a whole, not just Tess's life.
I would like to kind of agree with Kim. Like, I really enjoy your relationship with Tess. Mm-hmm. I feel like you could have used her as like someone to explore the community with. Like, I get where you're going. I get what you're going with. Like, you do want to show different parts of the community, but like using her as like kind of a guide through the story would have been really fun. And like, I feel like some of my favorite images actually are of Tess and like her doing stuff. Also, I really like that last image. I love me a good detail. I do wonder if the image of the people working in the kitchen possibly could have been cut. I feel like that might have made this piece a little bit stronger. I know you wanted to show like people who are working here, but do you think perhaps like you could have replaced it with another image of some of other people who were working, or like maybe something that showed them helping the residents a little bit more? I guess I don't know how many people were didn't want to be photographed.
Yes. The elderly community, you would be surprised maybe, but a lot of them don't. Like, as soon as I had a camera, they're like, who are you? Don't take a picture of me. So that was definitely a challenge I faced for sure. I was trying to get photos of them being fed, like dinner and lunch. But again, a lot of them that were being fed just sadly didn't want their photo taken. So yes, that was a challenge for me. But yeah, I was so glad that they let me back there to get access, because access as a journalist isn't really always easy. And so I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I just really thought they were important, because they are important, I think, to Gateway.
Have you done other photojournalism projects?
So I did this last year, and that was the last time I did one. So I'm really sports media, and I focus on sports primarily, but I had so much fun, and I grew so much as a person last year, so I was really grateful that I got to do this opportunity again. And so, yeah, so I did one last year, and I learned a lot, and so I kind of tried to take that into this year, but yeah, it was a whole year ago, so 2 times in my whole 21 years, so not much.
That photo of the 2 best friends, it's a great image, and it's a great study in contrasts. What elicited the guys laughing, and why is the other guy so cross?
So Leo's on the left and Edward's on the right. Leo makes some like very dry, blunt comments, and so that's just his personality. And so Edward kind of was just laughing at something that Leo said. I think Leo, he was like, oh, I'm going to be famous after these photos. He was like, you better make me famous. And so Edward was kind of just laughing about that, about Leo wanting to be famous and getting all the girls.
I want to emphasize kind of what was already said and kind of point out, if you follow Tess through this, we don't really have any photos of Tess in the dining hall. Did she not eat with the other residents? Because I think that would have been a way where you could show her in the space and in the community and still have these little vignettes in the background of the other community members and her interacting with the staff and everything. But it's just, for me, it's just so close, but then I get distracted when other people jump in, and then we go back to Tess, like it's so close.
Tess.
We are the dentures.
The dentures are great. I mean, I'm not nothing again. I love Leo and Edward.
Yes.
I love, the other folks, but it just, as far as the storytelling, that's where I think you could have really honed in.
Yeah. So Tess did eat in the same dining hall as Leo and Edward, but her friend that she eats with, her daughter came and got her that day. And so she was kind of by herself. And so I thought that was a good opportunity to kind of explore the other residents. But yeah, so she does eat, but she was by herself that day because her friend got taken out for the day. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Jaslyn. And Leah Ryan is our last presenter, junior journalism major from right here in Lincoln. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Leah Bryan. I'm a journalism major with a photography minor. I'm a junior this year. My story is called Bachfest Brewing Tradition. I was inspired to participate in the Perry Photojournalism Challenge because of my passion for photography and my desire to make photo stories. My story is called Bachfest, it's about the German community in Lincoln. German immigrants first settled in the Lincoln area in the 1860s because of the Homestead Act. They actually, they began the neighborhood down off campus that a lot of UNL students live in called the North Bottoms. It's kind of a silent community. It always exists. There's like a Germans from Russia museum. But there are 2 big things where people always are talking about them is Oktoberfest and Bachfest. Bachfest is the end of season winter celebration for the Germans, and October is in October. This is Holly and Tony Susek. Tony is wearing a goat costume. They're loading apple pie shots onto a shot ski. The goat costume is because goats are very important. They're kind of like the poor man's cow in Germany. And then Tony actually makes those shot skis. It's literally a ski with some holes in them. You can have 4 to 9 people taking a shot off of it at the same time. This is Nomar. He's from Lincoln. He's there with family friends. He's participating in Hammerschlagen. It's a traditional game where you try to get your nail into the log first with the small end of the hammer. He's there with his friends, but really he says that he was there for the beer. This is Jason and Jamie. They're both part of a duo called the Polka Police. They're brothers from Iowa. They are so cool. They'll cover like modern songs. I guess if you could call Africa from Toto modern. I don't know how long ago that was, but it's Polka. It was awesome, and I seriously actually do recommend hiring them for like birthday parties and stuff. They were so funny. This is Mike. He's a volunteer. He drove all the way up just for this day for Texas. So he actually got there in the morning and left at night to drive all the way back. He is beer poking. So there's that fire in the back with all those rods in it. You take the rod and you stir it around in your beer. The best flavors are Bock, which is actually the namesake for the festival. It caramelizes the beer and gives it a sort of tang. This is Cody on the right. He is the owner and co-founder of Beer House, who puts on the festival. He's emceeing for the Stein holding competition, where you hold a pint of water or whatever other liquid up for the longest amount of time, and the winner this year lasted over 5 minutes. My original story was I'll go back. My original story was supposed to be focused on Cody. That was one thing I struggled with, where his day of organizing the whole event didn't allow me full access, and so I pivoted my story to show the entire festival of everyone sharing their heritage with the community in Lincoln. This is Mike and Mark. They're twins from Texas from earlier. They actually won the competition this year and last year after holding the steins out for over 5 minutes, which is genuinely so much harder than it sounds. This is a group of strangers. None of them knew each other, and they're taking the shot ski with the apple shots. So this is 9 people. You can probably see 5 or 6 maybe, but it's 9 people in a row. This is Jason Owens from Seward, a little bit out of Lincoln. He drove up for the weekend. He brought his wife and his friends. He's the only German in that group. He's participating in the Stein competition and drinking a beer, the Bock, that has been caramelized. This is Alvin and Emily. They are dancing to the polka from the Polka Police. Their last name, they are German in their heritage. Their last name, Rafe, came from an ancient battle, according to them, in German history. And then this is a bartender filling up that Bock. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the struggles that I faced was my focus in the story. I had reached out to Cody and was given permission to be there all day. I was there for 10 hours. I got there at 10 and was there for 12 hours, shooting through the night through the rest of the festival. I met probably about 300 of the 1,200 attendees, plus a couple of the volunteers, who were mostly all German in their heritage. I would like to thank the judges for being here and giving us your time, and also the attendees for letting us share our work with you. Thank you.
You just gave something away that you were there until night. Where are the night photos? Why didn't you include any of the night photos?
Yeah, the festival ended up moving inside right before the sun went down. It was frigid this day, which you can kind of get from the ski mask photo in the very beginning. It was very cold. So the bartender one is inside. It kind of died down. Everyone was really eating. Their whole thing is 14-inch bratwursts, which are actually made by Cody's brother and dad. They're both butchers. I wish I'd been able to get that in a photo, but they're not there, so I couldn't. But yeah, so all my photos, I feel like from before they went inside were a little bit more powerful and showed more of the community than the inside tables of dining. But I did get those. So
I feel like I know you had to pivot, so that's always tough. Whenever I did this challenge, I also had to pivot. I feel like you did a really good job with event coverage. I'm not did you kind of make the story after because you had to pivot, or was this something you had kind of had in mind going forward? Because the German tradition aspect of it, while Beer House is a great bar, I love going to it. There's not a ton of people from Germany here, or I like the idea of the people who are sharing this community, but it feels more event more than a full-on story.
Yeah, that makes sense. The volunteers were all German. I think it's kind of hard because they look very much like everyone else that was at that festival. I think most of everyone that I captured was German in heritage. I did end up having to, shift my story, so it was difficult in that process and being like, oh, I'm on a time limit. It was really scary. I think that I do have a great variety of photos showing that sharing community, but I do wish that I had been able to get that access with Cody and have my one subject throughout the story.
First off, you have great color and exposure in 9 out of 10 of these images. The last one, we could have just bumped up just a little bit, but I love the fact that there's consistency in the color and the exposure and the contrast, and excellent job of framing within it. Walk me through your thought process in your angles, because some of them are, they're all great, but I just want to know what your thought process, was that an actual thought that you had, or you're just lucky?
For sure, definitely. One of my first photo classes was actually with Sean in the college, and he was, on the very first day, he was like, there's a difference between a photograph and a snapshot. And a snapshot is just right here. I didn't get down low, I didn't go up high, so definitely I love my angles. I think I could have, for that log one specifically, I got a comment on that. I wanted to get a lot closer and get that really low angle up at him. And with the sky in some other shots, or just the ground in some others, the log one specifically is a heavy hammer, and my camera is not mine. So I can't risk that. But definitely, I love getting my different angles. I'm on the ground in a couple of these shots, actually. I love the different angles, so that was intentional, yeah.
I feel like we're not saying a lot, but just to say, these are beautifully executed photos, and I especially like the one with the Stein contest. I'm wondering how. Ooh, talk to me really quickly about the dancing couple. How did you come?
They were
that
so
picture?
sweet.
Yes.
They knew what they were doing, I guess, because of their German heritage. But they came up to me afterwards, and they were like, "Can I get that photo?" They come here every year, I think, and they were like, "Are we gonna see you at Oktoberfest?" Yes, because this festival was so much fun, and it was so great to meet all these different people that I never would have met otherwise. It was nice to experience their heritage and have them be so excited to have me be there and share it with them too. Oh yeah, there were some dancing around. There wasn't a lot of dancing, I think, because sometimes polka's hard to dance to. But they just looked like they captured the attention of everyone dancing around them. They really stood out. And so I was down on the curb, moving around, trying to get the perfect angles, and he spun her around. It was really sweet. It was a nice husband-wife moment. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, you've had the presentations. Again, our 5 finalists in the 2025 version of the Perry Photo Challenge. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. Maddie, Marissa, Ruth, Jaslyn, and Leah. So thanks again. And also our judges. Let's give them one more round of applause as well. They still have some work to do. So we're going to adjourn momentarily. Kenneth, Kim, Jenny, Anna, and Patrick, I'm going to have you guys go out that door over there. There is some food to be had if you want to grab some on your way out. We're going to give them about 20 minutes for some final deliberations, and then we'll all come back here, and we will regroup, and we will announce the judge's decision. So, and Dean Sherry Vale will also be here to further embellish the evening. So thanks, Sherry, for coming tonight. And let's go ahead, the finalists, if you guys will go out that door, and then there's food and goodies out there. So we got about 20 minutes, and come on back. And everybody else, please, you're invited to go out and enjoy our hors d'oeuvres, wet stuff, food and drink. And we'll see you back here in about 20 minutes, and we'll get on with our evening. And thanks again for coming. Take care.
I'm a photographer, currently a photo and video specialist with the Omaha Public Schools. Before this, I spent 10 years working in newspapers as a staff photojournalist. I graduated from UNL and I was born and raised in Omaha. I originally got into photography because I wanted to be a cinematographer in high school, but my high school didn't offer any sort of film class or anything like that, so I ended up taking a black and white film photography class. And I knew in college I wanted to keep going with photography, but I knew I wasn't artsy enough for a true art major, and journalism had photography incorporated, so it was kind of a leap of faith. I had never done yearbook or newspaper or anything like that in high school, but it ended up working out. After graduation, I was hired as a staff photojournalist for the Statesman Journal in Salem, Oregon, and then I spent about 4 years at the Omaha World Herald, and now I am a photo and video specialist with the Omaha Public Schools, so telling stories about cool kids, cool teachers, cool staff doing cool things within OPS. I think I was asked to judge this competition because I've worked with Professor Sean Hill before, I've worked with his students before, and I've also judged this competition before. I'll be judging these photos and these photo stories on their impact, the impact of the aesthetics of the image, the impact of the storytelling, the impact of the kind of work that I can tell that the photographer put into it. I want to see a well thought out story, something that really highlights people, highlights emotions, highlights connections, highlights the theme, which is exploring community. In this competition, I'm excited to see the work of the students. I'm excited to hear the kind of questions that the students have about their own work and about each other's work. I'm excited to see what people can turn around in 24 hours. It is a challenge, but that's the point. I think a good photograph is something that can be read immediately, but also something that the viewer wants to linger on and wants to spend more time with. I think the light should be used thoughtfully. I think everything within the image should be there on purpose. Really, just a good photograph makes people feel something. The most rewarding thing about photography is the opportunities it presents to you. I have had the chance to travel all over the world, but I've also had the chance to really get to know my city intimately through photojournalism. I've met so many people who have let me into their lives and trusted me to share their stories. My advice for beginning photographers is to photograph as many things as you can, take advantage of as many opportunities you can, go as many places as you can, photograph as many events as you can, meet as many people as you can. You never know what opportunity will lead to the next and what person will lead you to the next story. It all builds, it's all snowballing all the time. So just as much as you can, say yes to as much as you can.
Hi, my name is Kenneth Ferreira, but everyone calls me Ken. I work as a staff photojournalist at the Lincoln Journal-Star here in town, and I am from Cheyenne, Wyoming, and graduated from UNL in 2020. I started in high school before moving on to the Daily Nebraskan when I got started at UNL. I worked there for about a year before being let go. I spent that next summer learning from photo books, learning from friends, until the very next year I reapplied where I was rehired. From there, I went on to continue to explore photographic opportunities through classes offered at UNL and the Global Eyewitness Program. Along with the classes I took at UNL, I also applied to work as the photo fellow at the Omaha World Herald. From there, I moved on to the Lincoln Journal-Star and worked freelance where I could. I then moved back to Greensboro, North Carolina to work for the paper there in town. And less than a year later, I was back in Lincoln, where I've been since. I'm excited to see what everyone brings back, honestly. Hopefully something I've never seen before and something that'll surprise me. So many things make a good photograph, but I would say an image that goes beyond the expected. Ideally, photos that can elicit any number of responses from your viewer. It can evoke a feeling, a memory, a number of other emotions, but making people feel something is what I think makes a good photograph. I find the most rewarding thing about photography is seeing how people you cover react to what you do. Sometimes I will receive letters or messages back from people I photographed who are touched by the images, whether that be positively or negatively, and I would say nothing beats reading those emails. There are so many images that I am proud of. I'm lucky enough to be proud of them, I would say, too. But I'm going to use a more recent example. From last year, there was this couple, Ignacia and Chris Hernandez, who were celebrating 75 years of marriage at 90 and 91 years old. And when I walked in their home, you know, I was expecting this to be like a really cute, like full of, you know, like memories of them, but their walls were sparse, or rather they looked more like grandparents' homes where, you know, they had some photos of their grandkids and their family, but not a lot of photos of them. So it, it ended up just being a photo of them on the couch initially, and I was kind of bummed, and I was packing up after I spent 30 minutes trying to find something in this house, and just nothing was working. So kind of resigned to make a bad photo, but I hate doing that. But as I was getting everything packed up to leave, I was by the door and I realized that, oh, they do have photos of themselves. They're just all over here by the door. And it's not really something I want to move, but they have this beautiful mirror there as well. And so I stop and I turn around and I ask if they would be willing to do one last photo real fast. Let me set up my equipment. And, you know, they had waited all that time with me, but they said, sure, why not? And Chris could not hear because his hearing aids had actually went out during our interview, and he could just not hear a single thing. So between his wife yelling at him and his daughter yelling at him, we were able to get get them into the frame of the mirror. And then as I was taking the photo, just as like some test shots, Ignacia reached up and gave Chris a kiss for being so cooperative, I think she said. And that ended up being the photo I took. And now it sits on their mantle right with all the other photos. And that makes me feel pretty good that I was able to both do something nice for them, a very nice story, but also to, you know, cover, I get to be a part of them, like part of their family now in a way. Like, not exactly, but like I provided something that they will treasure now. And I think that's really cool. Is there any advice I would give to beginning photographers? Be ravenous in your desire to learn, be willing to take critiques, and don't be afraid to fail. Every photographer who's anything worth their snuff has been failing since well before they were taking good photos, and they're going to continue to fail. You're going to take risks that don't work. They're going to do things that aren't always ideal. They're going to pick the wrong position. But if you're not afraid to fail and you're not afraid to try something different, you'll always be improving.
Hi, I'm Patrick Sisson, and I work as a photo editor for the Associated Press here in New York. So there are two sides to the best photography, and they're both inextricably linked. There's both geometry and emotion. And in individual photos, sometimes one is more successfully executed than the other, and that could depend on how things unfold in front of you and how mentally and physically ready you are to capture what you want. But they're still both part of the same package, though a lot of times emotion will outweigh composition. So if there's an extremely heart-wrenching moment, it doesn't really matter if the camera's like a few degrees tilted or the proportions of your subject in relation to the boundaries of your frame are not precisely balanced. The viewer will still feel something because of that emotion. Although if it were well composed, it would be even better. With the antitheses of the technical versus the creative, both are also inextricably linked because you can't accurately express an idea without the proper words. And also, the better the technical aspects of a photo, the better the subject is described. So, you know, if like an image is too noisy, it distracts from what you're trying to show, and it just kind of looks bad. But even if a scene is technically perfect, if there's nothing interesting in the frame, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like the left brain versus the right brain. You need both to navigate one's way through the world, and both affect your perception, and both have different strengths, and both have different strategies of tackling the same situation, but you need both to function. One of the interesting things about photography is that it can tell you about as much about one's own internal world as much it can the external world. In what one chooses to photograph, how one approaches ideas, how one approaches people. There's a practically infinite amount of subject matter and how it can be approached. So the once you see the images or the collection of images, the photography is a manifestation of one's mind, both abstract thought and also one's physical state. You know, when press shutter and actually being where the best angles would be. So the challenge is knowing both oneself and, even if you have great grand ideas, also being open. So it's kind of like the myth of riding the chariot, where the charioteer has to keep the reins tight enough to control the direction of the horses, because the direction of the horses will go in totally different directions if they're not steered properly. But also loose enough so the horses don't stop or choke. And there's this really great quote from one of the most successful hockey players, I think Wayne Gretzky. I think he said, "Don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck will be." Personally, I'm interested in street photography, trying to find my own way towards the work of people like Cartier-Bresson and Robert Frank and Gary Winogrand, Eddie Friedlander, William Eggleston, Alex Webb. And what I really like about their work is they're trying to find epiphanies in everyday life.
I'm Kim Johnson Floating, Deputy Director of U.S. News Initiatives for the Associated Press. I've been with the AP almost 25 years, starting as a photographer in Los Angeles. I've since moved to Dallas and Chicago. I wanted to be in a profession where people shine a light on issues and instigate change. It's an honor to judge this competition. Over the years, I've hired, mentored, and worked with emerging photographers. In addition to having the experience of being in the field, I look forward to see how you express yourself through the use of light, composition, and situational circumstances. And I'm looking forward to meeting and talking to people about photography. We all are inspired differently. I appreciate seeing thoughtful creativity, I like to see a person's style developing. One of my favorite things is street photography. Whether that's pausing to wait for a situation to unfold or stumbling upon something quirky. Spontaneous moments are difficult to capture now because people are so aware of cameras. I was 7 months into my first job at the Wichita Eagle in Kansas when a tornado poured through town. I was off, but I drove in the direction of where the funnel cloud went through. When I arrived in the area, trees were shredded, houses were gone, the hiss of gas coming through pipes and water mains was evident everywhere, and people walked about in a dazed manner. Moving through the area, I saw a police officer running towards an ambulance with a person in his arms. I followed him, and as he arrived, I took pictures of him as he struggled to remain standing as an officer and a paramedic was making room inside of the rig. I then helped him put the person in. Then he stepped away to catch his breath. I think I even gave him my scarf to wipe his brow. The ambulance didn't pull away, so I kind of half yelled, saying, like, why aren't they leaving now? And the officers just kind of shook their heads at me, like, she's gone. Guess I had to acknowledge then she was dead. In my time in Wichita, we had what was called the Summer of Mercy. It was about a month of protests in front of an abortion provider's clinic. All of us went out there on a daily basis making pictures and telling the story as it evolved over that time. Although at the end of the month, it became really difficult to try to make a picture that was different. There were a group of people who were there who tore up some pamphlets and threw them and then laid on the ground in prayer as officers prepared to arrest them. I swung around behind the officers and used the officers' legs to frame up the image of the people as they prayed. Beginning photographers, I'd like to see you work angles. If you have a choice, go out and look at the best light. Show up early at events or assignments to scout things out, to well position yourself, make connections in your community, and build sources. Be like a reporter, except you use a camera.
My name is Anna Reed. I am a photographer, currently a photo and video specialist with the Omaha Public Schools. Before this, I spent 10 years working in newspapers as a staff photojournalist. I graduated from UNL and I was born and raised in Omaha. I originally got into photography because I wanted to be a cinematographer in high school, but my high school didn't offer any sort of film class or anything like that, so I ended up taking a black and white film photography class. And I knew in college I wanted to keep going with photography, but I knew I wasn't artsy enough for a true art major, and journalism had photography incorporated, so it was kind of a leap of faith. I had never done yearbook or newspaper or anything like that in high school, but it ended up working out. After graduation, I was hired as a staff photojournalist for the Statesman Journal in Salem, Oregon. And then I spent about 4 years at the Omaha World Herald. And now I am a photo and video specialist with the Omaha Public Schools. So telling stories about cool kids, cool teachers, cool staff doing cool things within OPS. I think I was asked to judge this competition because I've worked with Professor Sean Hill before. I've worked with his students before, and I've also judged this competition before. I'll be judging these photos and these photo stories on their impact, the impact of the aesthetics of the image, the impact of the storytelling, the impact of the kind of work that I can tell that the photographer put into it. I want to see a well thought out story, something that really highlights people, highlights emotions, highlights connections, highlights the theme, which is exploring community. In this competition, I'm excited to see the work of the students. I'm excited to hear the kind of questions that the students have about their own work and about each other's work. I'm excited to see what people can turn around in 24 hours. It is a challenge, but that's the point. I think a good photograph is something that can be read immediately, but also something that the viewer wants to linger on and wants to spend more time with. I think the light should be used thoughtfully. I think everything within the image should be there on purpose. Really, just a good photograph makes people feel something. The most rewarding thing about photography is the opportunities it presents to you. I have had the chance to travel all over the world, but I've also had the chance to really get to know my city intimately through photojournalism. I've met so many people who have let me into their lives and trusted me to share their stories. My advice for beginning photographers is to photograph as many things as you can, take advantage of as many opportunities you can, go as many places as you can, photograph as many events as you can, meet as many people as you can. You never know what opportunity will lead to the next and what person will lead you to the next story. it all builds, it's all snowballing all the time. So just as much as you can, say yes to as much as you can.
Hi, my name is Kenneth Ferreira, but everyone calls me Ken. I work as a staff photojournalist at the Lincoln Journal-Star here in town, and I am from Cheyenne, Wyoming, and graduated from UNL in 2020. I started in high school before moving on to the Daily Nebraskan when I got started at UNL. I worked there for about a year before being let go. I spent that
What's wrong with this one? What's wrong with you?
No, are you blind? Have you come to a decision?
Yes. Welcome back. This is the 6th annual Perry Photo Challenge. The judges have deliberated and made their final decisions about the placements of our top 5 finalists in this year's Perry Photo Challenge. Before we read the script and tell you who ranks as the best, and quite frankly, you're all the best. You've all done a fantastic job. So let's give them a round. Which is really what makes judging very difficult. So, but first I'd like to introduce a great colleague, a good friend, and the dean of our college, Dr. Sherry Vale, who has a couple of remarks. She is the Jane T. Olson Endowed Dean of our college, College of Journalism and Mass Communications, a professor of advertising and public relations. Dean Vale.
Thank you, Barney. And I would love us to all give Barney a round of applause for stepping in as our MC today. And I want to give another thanks to our judges, because you just went through probably the hardest part of all of this in going through and choosing the winner. So another round of applause for our judges as well. This is the 6th year of the Perry Photo Challenge. And with that, I would like to take a moment to thank the benefactor of the Perry Challenge, Mr. Phil Perry. He is watching on the live stream right now. Phil has been an incredible friend to the college. He's also a dear personal friend. We have breakfast once a month. He is a very successful businessman, and what we talk about, what makes someone successful, we've had conversation about what makes someone good at fundraising, what makes someone good in business, and what he points to is hard work, being able to figure it out no matter what comes your way, and relationships. And if you look at what you all have done today to prepare for this, the relationships you had to build in order to get that close to your subjects, it's pretty incredible for you to be able to do that in such a short time. So really, that's a key piece of it, the hard work. You have a very small amount of time to be able to go out and get your story, and you have to just get it done no matter what happens, no matter what the lighting looks like, no matter whether you lose your subject halfway through, you just got to figure it out. And this challenge really celebrates that. So it is very fitting that Phil is part of this program. Phil is also considers himself an amateur photographer. However, if you have seen any of the photos on the wall over in the Perry studio, those are his personal photos that he has taken. So he is also an incredible artist who continues to work on his craft. And I encourage all of you, whether you are new to this year, plan on this for a career, to continue working on that craft and really love it as he has done. And he has been able to share that back with us as the sponsor for this challenge. We are really proud to see how our finalists have reflected all of these qualities with their own unique skills they bring to the table in order to tell the story of exploring community. I want to offer my sincerest thanks from the college to Mr. Phil Perry. The competition would not be possible without him. And I also want to thank our students, not just our finalists here, but all of the students who were part of this challenge. You went out of your comfort zone, you tried something new, and really the determination that you display in taking part in this challenge, I hope you are all incredibly proud of yourselves. I am incredibly proud of you. Thank you.
The moment we've all been waiting for. So we're going to announce the placements for all of the finalists, and it'll go in some bit of a descending order. I suppose we'll start with third, second, first, and then 4 and 5. And Dean Vale will be here to present the awards to each of you. And again, we thank you for your participation in this photo challenge. And at the end of the presentation of the awards, we'd like the first place recipient to please come up if you have some comments. You have a few moments to be able to make those comments, and then we will thank everybody here and send us off into the night, and we'll contemplate another Perry Photo Challenge in 2026. So, all right, let's go ahead and get to the cut. Third place, Bachfest Brewing Tradition by Leah Bryan. Our second place recipient, Signs of Community, Maddie Wells. First place for the 2025 6th Annual Perry Photo Challenge, Sister Get Together, Community for a Refugee Family from Sudan, Marissa Lindemann. Congratulations. Fourth place, an inside look at the heart of Gateway Vista, the final community, Jaslyn Sanders. And fifth place, Just Feed One, Community and Congregation, Ruth Bailey. Thank you again, all the finalists. And Marissa, would you like to make a couple of comments?
I'm going to set that down because I talk with my hands sometimes. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here and happy Women's History Month. How cool is this to have 5 women finalists who all created cool photo stories? We talked a lot about community today, but I think we'd be remiss in overlooking the fact that this is also a community of photographers who all get to spend a day like looking at what they've accomplished and learning from one another. So I'm really grateful to be up here and sharing in that with all of you. Thank you so much. Just keep giving him crap because he got this to us in class.
Marissa, over here. All right.
Thank you, Sean.
So there we go. As we conclude the 6th Annual Perry Photo Challenge, again, I want to thank our judges who came and spent their weekend with us and making some difficult decisions, and also our finalists as well. We want to thank all of our students as well as faculty members who participated in putting on this wonderful production, and they've been working at it for quite some time as well, too. So thanks again for them, our judges, Scholarship and Student Success Committee. And let me see, what else do I have here? Of course, Phil Perry, who's a birthday boy tonight, celebrating his birthday, and we're celebrating his legacy at our college at the now concluded 6th Annual Perry Photo Challenge. Thank you again. Good evening, everybody.